A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Now that shows we stand behind our work. And our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did.
Don't settle for slow internet in 2020. Everything is quicker when you think Troy Cable. With our state-of-the-art internet network, you can upload and download large files quickly. You'll bid buffering farewell when you stream your favorite movies, TV shows, and music. Enjoy local, friendly, and knowledgeable customer service when you need help. When you think internet, think Troy Cable.
When you think Troy Cable, think of a world-class network. Think of friendly local customer support experts. Think of reliable internet, phone, television, and security for your home or business. Most importantly, think of a hometown company connecting its community. Think fast, think friendly, think Troy Cable.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Good News and Interviews with Forrest Lee. It's my pleasure tonight to have members of the 1659th Movement Patrol Team of the Alabama Army National Guard that deployed to Saudi Arabia in September of 1990, and the main body arrived back in April of 91. I want to thank the guys and ladies who are represented tonight. This show is dedicated to Jim Jabbo Stinson and Bill Stevens, and I also would like to mention the unit members who are unable to be here tonight. Captain Mike Brooks, he was originally from Columbia, South Carolina when he deployed. Second Lieutenant Kathleen McDill, she was from Savannah, Georgia. Lee Gardner, he was our first sergeant from Troy, Alabama. Sergeant Don Jeffrey was from Troy, Alabama, and he resides in Dothan and Eufaula at this time. Also want to mention Sergeant Dennis Beckham, he's from Birmingham. Also Howard Moore from Goshen, Alabama. Jim Williford was a specialist when we were mobilized. He's originally from Troy, but he was living at Birmingham at the time. And Specialist Greg Mobley, he's originally from Brundage, Alabama, and he now resides in Huntsville, Alabama. And on behalf of the guys and ladies here, we want to thank the city of Troy, and at that time, Mayor Jimmy Lunsford, and all the citizens of this area who supported us as we deployed to Saudi Arabia. There were 32 units from the state of Alabama who were mobilized, more than any other state, almost double than any other state, and so I'm proud of that fact. There were 2 units from Troy, Alabama. There was another unit besides us. They were the 1167th Transportation Detachment. Their members were Herbie Davis, Jack Jordan, and Everett Walker, also mobilized. I believe we were called on orders on active duty around the 12th of September. They were called on active duty somewhere later on, about the 20th of September. And also the 900th Maintenance Company out of Brundage, they deployed in November of that year. And Eufaula unit, the headquarters unit of the 1103rd Transportation Company, they deployed in December of that year. Of course, our thoughts with those men serving today and their families, the men and women that are serving today. And it's an honor for me to be here because we're close-knit. We were kind of close before we left. And but when you go to that kind of circumstance, you draw closer. And I want to thank our sponsors for the show real quick, but I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But let's go ahead and start with our guest, and I'd like to start with our commander. Jimmy Copeland is from Troy, Alabama, and Jimmy, thank you for coming. And what I'd like for you to do is tell everybody a little bit about your family and just whatever you want to say.
Well, to be perfectly honest, everybody in this room is part of my family. In an odd way in some directions, but at the same time, when you go off with a large group of gentlemen and we all leave our families behind, then we become a larger family than what you typically see elsewhere. And it was my pleasure to be there. I've got sort of taken into that. Y'all get a good laugh about this because our commander had gotten out of the Guard a month before we got called to go overseas. So that's how I wound up being the commander of the unit. Was that he was gone and there was nobody else left there in that position. And it turned out to be real good from the standpoint of what you guys did and how you came out with it, what you did, those kind of things. I really found it odd that in the traditional societies of the region we were in, it is considered rude to face the soles of one's feet toward other people. Thank goodness we didn't know that, and them other folks wasn't paying no attention to us. So we got to get away with that without getting into trouble. But it is an odd thing because their Sundays and Saturdays swapped. And I didn't know this until I got to studying. If they have it Friday and Saturday, then they'll turn around and do it just the opposite way the next week or so. And we didn't know that. We really didn't know that. But at the same time, if you don't wear your shoes over there like you're supposed to, they will attack. And that is, in fact, not a good place to be at certain times. And we had some folks that ran into that came out very well. I can't say a whole lot more about how great you all are and how great you did. It's better for me to let you all talk. But at the same time, when I start looking here at some of the numbers that we got, you guys have lost a little weight since we got back home. Maybe it lost.
Maybe a little hair.
Maybe you lost part of it while we were there, but I've got your weight numbers right here. But everybody did a great job. I don't have any complaints about anybody and how well they did it. The great thing was to have this group of people together. Nobody ever backed up. And the one thing I was asked by someone in this room's parents, when we started to leave, they walked up to me and asked me, they had one request. Please bring my son home. And he happens to be sitting at the end of the room.
Christopher Joel.
But he did a great job. Y'all all did a great job. I can't complain about anything anybody did, except for one thing. And that one thing was when we went in to sleep at night, we had a group that stayed outside and stayed there and worked during the night. But every time I come in there was a pile of junk sitting there where they'd been eating all night. But they did a great job, and I'm very proud of that. I'm going to pass it on.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. I'd like to introduce, he was Captain Wendell McLean at that time, General McLean, if you will.
Thank you, Forrest.
Go ahead.
Forrest, thank you for putting this thing together. And you know, it's a very special group here. If you call back in 1990, nobody ever heard of the National Guard deployed. I mean, you go all the way back to the total force that was started up after the Army was downsized. Their plan was to use the National Guard and the reserves in the future, but you know, it was kind of a surprise to all of us. And I was fortunate enough to get, I volunteered, so I was fortunate enough to get put in the 1659. And what a great unit to be in. All the soldiers were really trained in the movement control area. They knew their jobs. I didn't know a whole lot about movement control. I had been a transportation company commander before. I think that helped out overall in our mission as we went through the process. But I always say to you ladies and these families, you know, the people that deploy, we really had it made. We just had one job to do. These spouses taking care of kids and working and taking care of the washing machine when it tore up and all these kind of problems they had back at home, they're the ones that had it hard. You know, all we did was do our job. We didn't have but one job to do. But I was very fortunate to be able to go with this unit, and I learned so much by being around these people. Good soldiers, you know, they were a close-knit group, most of them from right around Troy. Mike Brooks and myself was a little bit of outsiders, but you know, if you train to be a soldier, you know you can get along with anybody and get in there and help do the job. I had 2 small children at home, and a third one is about grown, and so Judy had her hands full. But we got through it, and I went on and stayed in the Guard almost 20 years after Desert Storm. So the things that I gained and the people I met while we deployed went a long ways in helping my career. You know, the Army was just getting into that Corps Support Battalion and Corps Support Group concept during that time, and I learned a lot about it. When I came back to the Guard, nobody knew a whole lot about it. So it was good. We did a lot of good things. When I got back and we started having bringing all the units in and telling what they did and all that, I never thought that we got the credit we deserved and what we did. You know, going into Iraq during the ground war, part of us went, and then all the support that we gave to the 24th Infantry Division and the 1st COSCOM, you know, it's just unbelievable. I'm sure Jimmy's probably got the figures on miles and tonnage and all this kind of stuff that they moved that we had planned and everything. So that was a lot. I guess we were all fortunate, I was, to have a good civilian job too. My civilian job supported me. I worked for Alabama Power, and I couldn't have asked for no better company than they was to me and to my family during the time that we deployed. Now, Chris knows this. There's been so many more deployments since then, and I was commanding a brigade. I guess we probably deployed 1,800 soldiers, and I saw them go and I saw them come home. And they'd all ask me about deployment, and I'd always tell them that, hey, there'll be some soldiers that you really don't expect them to do much, but they will stand out when the time comes, and there'll be some disappointments. It always happens that way. Chris knows what I'm talking about. He's deployed as a company commander. So, you know, this whole group is very special to me. I was kind of an outsider, but you know, I guess this is my Troy family now. But I really appreciate, like I said, and Jimmy, we appreciate you being our leader over there, being our commander. That we had somebody we could go to and look, and you would look out for us. I'm gonna do it on time. Okay.
We can come back to you, maybe, if we have to. We're at 7. All right. Well, listen, we're going to shift over to Kay Stinson. Her husband is Jim Stinson. We called him Jabbo. And Kay, a couple of questions for you. Of course, Jim's hometown was Brundage, Alabama. I want to ask you, how did y'all meet?
He was my brother, Charlie, my baby brother. They were best friends.
They were best friends.
Growing up.
And I learned how to cook chicken and dumplings. Jim invited me. We were drilling one weekend. He said, Forrest, come go with me. I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to eat. That's all I'm going to tell you.
And we believed in eating.
And they had a spread. But Jim's military career, how long did he serve in the military? Do you remember?
22 years.
22 years. And what are some of the things that y'all did, Kay, as wives to support each other while we were deployed?
Oh, we supported each other. At the same time, we were supporting our husbands and all of the guys with the unit that went. We worked hard. We stayed at the post office, but we couldn't have done it without each other. We couldn't. We figured out all sorts of ways to send stuff. You know, whatever these guys wanted is what we sent, and I know all the wives were involved in that.
Well, that was anytime you got mail from home, that's a treat. And Kay,
we would like to thank you for all the Listerine you sent to us.
I knew that was coming.
But you know, the thing I can remember about Jabbo was his infectious laugh. You know, you could be within a minute or two, you'll be laughing about something, regardless of how the atmosphere or wherever you were, and that's a very special memory for all of us. Kay, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, one thing about Jabbo Stinson, whatever he did 110%. Whether it was for a friend, a neighbor, his family, and you know, he was sick for 8 years.
Right.
But he still was always thinking about someone else besides himself. And I want all you guys to know, and your families, that y'all all have a piece of our heart. All of us wives that stayed back. We worried about you guys.
Okay, I want to mention one of your grandsons, Bryant Hussey. Bryant's a member of Alpha Tau Omega fraternity, ATO, and for the last 12 or so years, they've been walking to Panama City during spring break. It's about 128.3 miles. And they have interviews that they share on Facebook and stuff. And his, the reason that he wants to walk is in honor of Jim, his granddaddy. And that's a special thing that those young guys do each year. This year they raised a little over $95,000. And it's for the Wounded Warrior Project. It's called Walk Hard, I believe.
Yeah.
They start on the main campus of Troy University. They go to Pier Park and they go into the water.
5 days later, they end up at Pier Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Now we're going to speak with Sandy Stevens and Russ, her son. Her husband is Bill Stevens. And one special thing I can remember about Bill is he was in charge of procurement. He would come up and find things for us to have. And my most vivid memory was when we were at Cement City. He found us a place to eat at an Air Force facility. He said, just walk in and act like you belong, sign in, and let's eat. And we had to go in shifts. We just had a truck. And what was the name of the truck?
Lightning.
Lightning. It wasn't white, it was lightning, but it was green. But we would go in shifts. First shift would probably leave about 4. Be about 8 or 10 of us in that shift. They'd eat and come back, and then the next shift would go. And so I don't know how Bill did it, but he found it. But go ahead, Sandy.
He definitely was a provider. And he was a good provider for his family, too. And he left us 10 years ago and left a big hole. Those out that got to know him, he had a big personality. He would see about.
Where was Bill's hometown, Sandy?
He was from Chattahoochee, Florida.
Chattahoochee, Florida. How did y'all meet?
We met at Huntington College.
Huntington College.
And he was, at the time we were in college, was going to OCS, Marine.
Marines.
And he was, in 1961, which was the year we married, he was commissioned into the Marine Corps. And as an officer. So he served his term then, and then 30 years later, I guess a little less than 30 years later, he joined the 1659
Yes, ma'am.
and was quickly deployed at age 52.
52.
So
I guess he was the oldest guy, wasn't he?
probably was the oldest
He was
one.
52.
I was telling Chris that Chris was the baby and Bill was the old lady.
But he was tougher than all the rest of them.
Absolutely. He thought he was, he
He put on a good front anyway.
He had some experience, didn't he? But I'm thrilled to be able to honor all of you that served, and I appreciate, Forrest, you doing this, getting us together and letting us honor. You know, I want my children and grandchildren to be reminded of those times. I think we don't honor like we should the military, and so that's, I think you've done a great thing to get us together.
Well, I remember Sandy, first one we lost was Jim. And after the church ceremony, I forgot who was with us, but I started to cry. And Bill just put his hand on my shoulder and he reached in his pocket and gave me a knife. That's all he did. And then when I was in the middle of the woods, when I got a call about Bill having a stroke, and I cried then. And the thing that sticks out in my mind about Bill is he witnessed to his brother about putting on the armor of God each and every day. He was trying to witness to his brother to save him and bring him to Jesus. And Chris and I drove to Columbus, Georgia when he was in the hospital, and y'all were in a coffee shop. And there was your Bible, reading your daily scripture, and y'all were sharing things with your other children. Who are your other children, Sandy?
I have 4 children. Russell, of course, is here, and I have 3 daughters.
And what are their names?
They're Christina and Karen and Sherry.
Okay. Russ, if you will, share a couple of memories you have about that time when they left or when they came back and all that.
Well, it's you know, it's kind of interesting to sit here now. I'm 56 years old. My dad was 52 at the time. So to think, you know, I was 25, newly married that year, and when this happened, of course, you know, there wasn't the communication, there wasn't the 24-hour news cycle really until that period of time. So it's a profound thing to look back on now and think about, you know, lost sleep. I don't think I slept 2 hours a night the whole time. You know, we were worried about all of you, and, you know, didn't understand the scope of the world and what war looked like. And, you know, the biggest thing that I think has affected probably all of us, but me for sure, is a sense of patriotism that comes during those times. And I mean, even talking about it now, you know, makes me emotional.
Well, you know, Bill was very special to all of us.
How far about
Go
Bill and I were close because he and
Auburn.
I think were the only 2 Auburn fans in the group. Well, we set up
Terry was.
we set up and listened to the Auburn-Alabama game on the Armed Forces station. It come on about 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, when it was over, we got beat 16-7, but Bill said, you know, these people's asleep. Let's just go out a big War Eagle and they won't know the difference. So we did. We hollered War Eagle and probably woke some of y'all up. Went on about the minute, and the next day it took, I don't know, that afternoon, the next day before anybody called home and found out that we wasn't telling the truth. But anyway, Bill, every unit, military unit needs a scrounger. If you need something and you really don't want to ask where it's coming from, Bill was that guy that could get it.
Yeah, sure is.
Who we love.
Bill,
He loved
I got a little story to tell about Bill. Bill told me one day, he said, here, get in the truck, let's run down to where the 24th ID is stationed at. You know? And we had a little trouble getting soft drinks and cookies and stuff like that. And he said, when we go up here, he said, all that stuff's stacked up behind their kitchen. He said, when you get out of the truck, just act like you know what you do. Don't look around, just load that stuff up, you know. And so we loaded it up. Didn't nobody say a word to us. We got the gate, you know. And Bill said, you see this U.S. on this armor? Yeah, That means us.
All right, we're gonna,
I would like to say
Sure,
one
sure.
other thing about the family. Bill loved his family, and you all knew that, but there was a grandchild that was born just about a month after you all left. And when we returned to Columbus, some officer came and took her out of her mother's arm and gave her to Bill in
Right.
formation.
and I think we have pictures of her that should be on the monitor as we're talking. We hope that's on there.
So that baby has 2 little boys now.
Wow. All right, we're going to shift down here to my right, Paul Floyd. Paul's from Troy, Alabama. Paul, if you would, tell us about your family and your military career. And
Okay, I spent 34 years in Alabama National Guard. I'm old. I've been in 8 different units, but I've never met a man like Bill Stevens. When he came in our unit, I was a postmaster in Cloud, and Bill walked in the post office one day, and I didn't know him from Adam's house cat. He was a substitute rule carrier in Cloud, and he kept coming every day. And then it was drill weekend, and there's Bill Stevens. And he told me he was a retired captain in the Marines, I believe. And I said, "The world are you doing in the National Guard?" "Well, I need some part-time work." Now, let me tell you something. I bet you I rode 10,000 miles in Saudi Arabia with Bill Stevens and Lieutenant
McDill, Kathleen McDill.
And Bill was a thief. We would go in a gate and he would take the belt off the Saudi guy and trade him something for him. If you walked in a convenience store and you wanted a candy bar, they'd say, you know, whatever they said, it would be $1 or $2. Bill said, no, he'd throw down 25 cents, he'd pick it up and walk out.
We still have a stash if y'all like any memorabilia from.
We stopped at a gas station because we couldn't find a fuel point, so we had to buy some fuel for that old truck. Well, it was 34 gallons, and it was 15 cents a gallon, I think. Well, I had a little bit of the Real, or whatever you call them. Bill said, "You got enough?" And I said, He said, "Well, just give him what you got." So the guy come up there and I handed it to him, and I threw it, and Bill threw it and drive and said, "Go!" But Bill was a hoot. I'm gonna tell you though, out of the 8 units I've been in, this has got to be the most intelligent unit I've ever seen. I mean, you know, we had school teachers, we had Don, PhD, had old mailman, you know, cable guy. It was all walks of life. But what got me was, you know, we bonded good. We took care of each other. And like I say, I've been deployed 3 times. I was gone 19 months my last time. Let me tell you something, that's a long time. That's over a year and a half. But I've never seen another unit. I'll say this, the 167th in Troy, the Movement Control Center, where your daddy was brought up, and I was brought up, was you know, it was a great unit. But it was a unique unit. You just don't see units like that. You know, and I've been around the world with this stuff. But you know, things happen, and I didn't get to do everything I could have done, but I did what I could.
We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, I want to thank the following sponsors: Douglas Brothers, Bird Drugs, Whaley Pecans, Abbey Leaf Photography, Lenny Trawick, Flat Tops and Fiddles, Home Gallery, the Brundage Country Club, Sticky Frogs, go see Jennifer, State Farm, Bryant Smith, the State Farm agent, Piggly Wiggly, Steve and Jennifer Garrett, the Chicken Shack of Luverne, and Flowers Realty. Put flowers in your yard. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.
When you think Troy Cable, think of a world-class network. Think of friendly local customer support experts. Think of reliable internet, phone, television, and security for your home or business. Most importantly, think of a hometown company connecting its community. Think fast. Think friendly. Think Troy Cable.
Join us for Good News and Interviews with Forrest Tree Lee. Monday nights from 7 until 8, and watch the replays on Wednesday nights from 8 until 9. Ladies and gentlemen, join us for Good News and Interviews with Forrest Tree Lee.
This is Barney at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, and I'm here to nip this sale in the bud.
Hello folks, this is Greg Anthony, sales manager at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Troy, Alabama, offering discounts up to $15,000.
Let's nip that.
0% financing up to 72 months.
We gotta nip that.
Barney, $5,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade-in.
You're killing the competition.
Barney!
Take the worry out of Wi-Fi with managed Wi-Fi from Troy Cable. Say goodbye to dead zones. Automatically update outdated technology. Get the most of your signal with specialized access points. With worry-free Wi-Fi from Troy Cable, you can enjoy a full-strength signal reaching every corner of your home. Think fast. Think friendly. Think Troy Cable.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
If you've
with Forrest Lee, these are members of the 1659th Movement Control Team that mobilized to Saudi Arabia in September of 1990 and arrived back in April of 1991. I want to read something to you from the Bible. It's the book of John, chapter 15, verse 13. It says, it reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." That's a tribute to all men and women who put that, who do that, and the police officers, the first responders, the nurses and the doctors and the military. And I just wanted to mention that out loud for everybody, and I want to thank these men for their service that they did for our country. And we're going to go to Sherman Stafford. Sherman, we call him Chief. And Sherman, if you will, where's your hometown?
I'm originally from Clio, Alabama.
Clio?
Barber County.
Okay. Tell us, if you will, Sherman, about your family and your military career, if you will.
Well, my wife, Janice, and at the time we deployed, I had a young daughter, but she's now married with 2 kids and living out in Banks. My civilian career, I was prior Air Force, and I joined the National Guard because they never go anywhere. they stay at home. And then the next thing I knew, I was activated. I was a cable TV technician, and I was actually in a customer's house on a service call when I found out we were activated. So I told the customer, I said, well, this is the last job I'll do for a while. But it ended up that it wasn't too many days that we spent here, and then we ended up in Fort Rucker. The things I remember most about Desert Storm, well, there's so many memories, but you've never lived until you've been in a 500 vehicle convoy, riding with Jim Stinson, following Bill Stevens. And especially when you drive day and night, and you stop for a few minutes, you got to get out and go around, wake Bill Stevens up and tell him it's time to go, and then you get back in your truck and hope he stays awake long enough that you get started, because several times I had to wake him up twice. But my current job is whatever my grandkids tell me to do. Other than that, I just stay at home. But the support we had back home, that was the most. I mean, we all felt it, and we wondered how all the wives were keeping things going, and we all worried about them, and that was our biggest concern. The concerns weren't so much for us, it was for the wives, because we knew it was more of a burden on them than it was us, because we had each other to take care of ourselves, but we didn't know what was going on back here, and that's really all that we cared about, and that's all I got to say.
Well, you know, if I ever found out anything that happened over there, I heard it from one of you guys, because Jim Stinson would not share anything, especially if it was bad. I never knew. But y'all took care of each other in that convoy. I did hear a few stories.
Well, I got a story I'll tell you sometime about Jim. How I set him up in the convoy.
Oh, he appreciated it.
Not too much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce, this is Terry Turner. He's from Goshen, Alabama, grew up between Glenwood and Spring Hill, and he's a year younger than I am. He graduated in 1978, and we played a little bit of football together. But Terry, if you will, talk about your family and some of your military, your career, and some of your experiences.
Well, first of all, I want to say is, just being in the National Guard, I'm going to give a little plug to the National Guard. I probably learned more in my 21 years in the Guard than I ever learned anywhere in my life. So God, if you have some kids and they don't really have the means to go to college or whatever, the Guard's not a bad place to go. You can learn a lot. My family, Linda, she passed away in 2002, and I've been pretty much single ever since, but I do have a fiance, and we've actually been together about 15 years. Her name's Gina, and we'll probably get married this year, so.
Congratulations.
But like I said, I've been in the Guard 21 years. I got my first retirement check last month. Yeah. And well, my civilian job before I left to go over, I almost went broke farming, and I was working for a farmer actually. I'd quit farming, and so when we got forward, while it was tough, my wife held it together, and it was, it was different, the biggest thing I remember is, flying over. We flew over in a cargo plane, and we had our pickup truck, the only one we had, and about 3 pallets over there, and we almost froze to death going over there. And as you descended at the airport there, you felt, everything warming up a little bit, and so we land, and they kind of taxi around to the end of the runway, and let the gate down, You know how your oven feels when you open up your oven, that heat hits you, we were kind of like, man, and then we got out and we lined up formation, and the guy kind of briefed us a little bit and said, you got to go over to that building over there with the tents beside it, It was on the other end of the runway,
Yeah.
And I think we were both exhausted by the time we got there, and it was just.
We had 3 or 4 duffel bags.
Yeah, and for about a week there, you know, we couldn't do anything but drink water. You know, we were so exhausted. You know. And then after I got dysentery for about a week, I thought I was just going to die. You know. But you know, everybody was experiencing the same thing, and you know, it's all I can say is that everybody got over there and did their job and did what they had to do. You know, and that's all you can do. You just and I was kind of introvert before I went over. I didn't say a whole lot, you know, but it made me grow up, and ever since then, nobody's been able to shut me up, you know. So, but you know, it's just, and like I said, our support from our family, you know, kept us going. You know, that's what you thought about when you was over there, you know. And of course, you know, they were probably going through a rougher time than we were by not knowing what we were doing. You know, and it's so I just like to thank all the wives all back home and for taking care of us. And another thing, we got plenty of tuna while we was over there. Somebody said we needed tuna, so we had all tuna.
All we had to do was hear what you guys needed.
Yeah.
But Terry blew up the TV that you
I blew up the TV. I hooked it up wrong to the generator.
We couldn't watch anything.
Everybody stayed mad at me about 2 weeks, you know.
And we sent videos and movies and
my current job now, I work with the Pike County Road Department. I've been there almost 30 years now, and and thanks to our commander, he kind of helped me out a little bit getting that job, because after we got back, you know, I got a job at the county, and I farmed, and I've had poultry houses the whole time I worked. And I don't know how I did it all, but now I no longer have the poultry houses, but I'm getting ready to retire in a few years. So I'd just like to thank all the guys here, because we had, like I said, we had a great unit over there. Everybody. Now we fought a little bit, you know, kind of like family members do every time, and you know, that was all.
Y'all burned a lot of stuff, didn't you?
Yeah.
Say that. Howard went up on haircuts. We asked him to move his bump this 2 inches. And Terry and Jeffrey held him. We was putting the floor down, but we needed to move Howard's bump about that much. But Howard had his cords, his coffee pot, and all this stuff, his fans. I ain't moving it. And Jeffrey says, I'm going to break you into 1,000 pieces.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break real quick. We want to thank Troy Bank and Trust Company. We want to thank Troy Paint and Body, Chimney Hot Sauces. Go to www.chimneysauce.com. Take the leap for hot sauce. We want to thank Pike Farmers Co-op. They have locations in Goshen and Troy. The Alabama Army National Guard, Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Troy, and its manager Jason Gregory, and Golden Boy products. We'll be back in just a few minutes with good news and interviews.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Now that shows we stand behind our work. And our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did.
Don't settle for slow internet in 2020. Everything is quicker when you think Troy Cable. With our state-of-the-art internet network, you can upload and download large files quickly. You'll bid buffering farewell when you stream your favorite movies, TV shows, and music. Enjoy local, friendly, and knowledgeable customer service when you need help. When you think internet, think Troy Cable.
When you think Troy Cable, think of a world-class network. Think of friendly local customer support experts. Think of reliable internet, phone, television, and security for your home or business. Most importantly, think of a hometown company connecting its community. Think.
Join us for Good News and Interviews with Forrest Tree Lee. Monday nights from 7 until 8, and watch the replays on Wednesday nights from 8 until 9.
Ladies and gentlemen, join us for Good News and Interviews with Forrest Tree Lee.
This is Barney at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, and I'm here to nip this sale in the bud.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Anthony, sales manager at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Troy, Alabama, offering discounts up to $15,000.
Let's nip that.
0% financing up to 72 months.
We gotta nip that.
Barney, $5,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade-in.
You're killing the competition.
Barney!
Take the worry.
Welcome back to Good News and Interviews with Forrest Lee. These are members of the 1659th Movement Control Team of the Alabama Army National Guard that deployed to Saudi Arabia in September of 1990 and arrived back home in April of this, in 1991, 30 years ago this month. I want to thank the guys for being here tonight. Our next featured soldier is Christopher Joel Amos. He's from Troy, Alabama, graduate of Charles Henderson, and he was in college at Troy University when we got deployed. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Forrest. And I think every one of us should say it again, is just thank you for having us all together again. You know, we got together, when was the reunion in the restaurant?
Last year?
Is it October-ish?
Something like that.
Anyway, that was a great, you know, get together and all, you know, from the beginning, but we didn't get a chance to sit here and talk and share like this right here. So just thank you again for doing that.
Thank you.
I was literally a baby, like Kate was mentioning a few minutes ago. I was 20 years old, having the time of my life in college at Troy State University at the time, and was in the Guard for the GI Bill, and had joined as a computer programmer. Now, a computer programmer is not very common, or not really, you wouldn't think about a movement control team having a computer programmer, but we had one. So I was trained in as a computer programmer, not necessarily trained in the logistics side of it, but through that process, everyone in here and their husbands had I guess a flavor of teaching me of what logistics were all about when it came to movement control. But most importantly, it set the stage for just the rest of my career. Like I said, I was going to do my 6 years and move on and do for a civilian job or what have you. At the end of that deployment, what was so key for me, and looking at my journal and just reading my thoughts at the time, was just how much serving meant to me. And I had great people like Jim Stinson, that was a morale officer on steroids. And acquisition, I prefer to use that word acquisition instead of procurement, and Bill Stevens, who hit me at the perfect time. And I could tell a story about each and every person in this room, and the ones that aren't able to be here with us tonight, just what they meant to me, and Greg Mobley, and the younger guy, Jim Williford, at the time, that was just so important to us. I'll be married 15 years in June to my wife Melissa. We have 2 beautiful kids. At this time, I'm still in the National Guard. I'm Lieutenant Colonel. I just came out of Battalion Command, and have been in the Guard almost 32 years now. And it's because of this experience that I had in Desert Storm that kept me in. Because I've shared something from this deployment, from our 18, 19-man unit, in some form or fashion, to when I was in company command, like General McClain mentioned there a few minutes ago, or when I was a Battalion XO in Afghanistan in 2013 and 2014. I've shared something that happened on this deployment in Operation Desert Storm that involved unit cohesion, learning to do your job, or just, you know, doing your best. And I think that's one thing that we have always brought to the National Guard, is we bring a flavor to the mission. We bring a way of thinking outside the box. We bring so many things, like Terry was talking about. So many ways, and we did that. We were the perfect example of what a National Guard unit can achieve with small numbers and an unknown mission. So I wasn't privy to a lot of the great stories in this deployment, because I kind of stayed back. We got a great team that went forward on the advanced team. But the things that stick out to me, in addition to some of the acquisition endeavors with Sergeant Stevens and just some of the things that Jim would talk to me about as well, is the fact how eventually Major Copeland would starch his hat or iron his hat almost. He had it flat. General McCaffrey correcting Don Jeffrey, telling him he's not necessarily a doctor, you're an E5. Y'all remember that one?
Yeah.
Yes. And like I said, that goes back to us being National Guard. We're used to introducing ourselves. Don was used to introducing himself as Dr. Don Jeffrey. Jimmy Copeland. I'm Forrest Lee. How you doing? Yeah, but that was my favorite. Was when was he 4-star or 2-star? I think he was a 2-star, yeah, division commander, right?
Yeah.
Of the 24th Infantry Division, right, sir? And he's going around the tent, from what I understand, it was after the war, right? And he was going around shaking everybody's hand, and Don said, I'm Dr. Don Jeffrey. And he's like, oh, you look like Sergeant Don Jeffrey. And I'm sure Don, would do that differently, but that was so funny. But the way it was told, by you guys. So, like I said, I was the low man on the totem pole for this right here, but I just wanted to make sure you guys know how much I appreciate your mentorship and just everything you did, whether it be on the family side, taking care of us there on the care packages and just praying for us, and doing all that. Like General McLean mentioned, we didn't have an easy job when it all came down to it.
Well, I slept on the couch every night, and I recorded every day before. But Jab would not look at it. Never look at it.
Chris, share your rooster story.
Whew, that's a good one. I have in my office this very day a picture of a rooster painted by my grandmother Amos, Lillian Amos, who was a painter. One of the most loving, eccentric women you've ever met. While we were gone, she painted a picture of a rooster that she had a dream the night before the ground war started. She dreamed that a rooster crowed before the first missile was shot. She woke up the next morning and painted a picture of a beautiful rooster that I still have on my wall today. And had a nice little formal ceremony when I got back. But it is a reminder of all these stories that I see. I look at it every single day. And it's called The Rooster. And I probably tell the story about it at least once a week.
Oh, yeah.
To everyone that comes into my office. She, on the back of it, she said, before the war started, a rooster crowed. I heard it.
That's correct. Does everyone remember where you were when the war started? I do. I know exactly where I was when I heard the war had started.
Where were you?
I was at work at NBC.
That's right.
And a customer come in and said, the war has just started.
Well, a couple of things I want to mention personally. Jody and I got married in July of 1990. And I was at work at Greenville High School and got a phone call from Lee Gardner. Forrest, we've been mobilized, come on. I said, what are you talking about? He said, come on, we've been mobilized. I said, well, I'm at work. Can I go home and say goodbye to Jody and get my clothes? And so he said, just come tomorrow. So I did. And some of the things that stick out in my mind was the gas chamber at Fort Rooker. That was pretty tough. And after we had lunch, it seems like everybody was leaning on each other. And like Terry said, the amount of heat that you couldn't shut the oven once you got to Saudi Arabia. And but a story that we were at Cement City, Jimmy Copeland, I was supposed to take Greg Motley to see the first sergeant of the camp. They needed somebody from each unit. He said, take Greg, he's the low man on the pole. So I go to the first sergeant's office, introduced ourselves. And I just stood in there. I said, here's Specialist Motley. And he looked at me and said, me? I'm going to take care of Moley. Moley going to be, you can leave me. I'll take care of Moley. He's going to be just fine. Go ahead, Lee. And talking about Greg, he loved chocolate bars. And I had ankle surgery toward the end of May. And one night I got up to use the latrine, and I was kind of hobbling, and Jimmy and Lee Gardner, our first sergeant, was outside and they saw me hobbling. He said, Forrest, are you okay with your ankle? I said, yeah, I'll be all right. He said, we're going to a meeting about 4 hours away. We're going to drop you off at the medic tent and we'll pick you up the next morning. So we go, they drop me off and they go to the meeting and the doctor saw me and he said, Lee, you should have never had to come over here with your ankle. It takes over a year to heal. He said, I'm sending you back, no questions asked. And so Jimmy then came back the next day to get me, and I was already in Germany. And so I got back somewhere in November and stayed on active duty till mid-December at Fort Rucker. But it bothered me that I, one, couldn't say goodbye, two, that we didn't know what was going to happen, and I felt really down about leaving the guys, our unit members. And so I was torn the whole time. At the same time, I was happy to be home with Jody. We'd just got married, but not knowing the unknown would kind of bother me, and I was worried about these guys. Well, we were at a church one day at a wedding. Jody's first cousin was getting married, and there was a hymnal and a Bible. And I picked the Bible up and I turned it, it just so happened I turned it to Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 5. And here's what it says. The Lord's word, it says, when a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year and shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken. So that was the Lord's way of telling Forrest, it's okay that you're back. But, my love for these guys is unquestioned. I mean, I got chill bumps thinking about Bill and Jim and the love I have for each of these guys here and their families. And it means a lot to be part of the Alabama Army National Guard. Retirement pay is good, but the most thing that we love is TRICARE. But it gives you an opportunity to serve your country. You get to meet men of different walks of life, and I enjoyed being in the Guard. And we got a minute or two left, and if anybody else would like to add something real quick.
Thank you for all you do, because we may sit back, but Forrest Lee's going to bring it together.
Yeah, thank you, Forrest.
Well, thank you.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, Forrest, is when we got out in the desert at Pulaski and got everything set up, and we started doing our job every day. We really didn't know what was going to happen in the future. We didn't know how this thing was going to roll out. We didn't know what Saddam Hussein was going to use. And of course, Mike Brooks and I would talk about it, and we felt like we needed to, and if y'all remember when we had a little bit of downtime, we tried to do a little bit of training about taking care of ourselves, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We felt like that the chemical side of things would come in there because they had so much artillery, and that's how they would get it there. So we tried to train about the mask and everything, which couldn't do much because it was too hot over there. But I feel like if things had went the other way and they'd used something like that, we would probably as well trained as any unit over there. And we were right there with active duty and reserve, and Guard performed as well as anybody did.
Well, listen,
I remember a couple of nights that we stayed in mop gear for about 5 or 6 hours and sleeping in mop gear. It was no fun.
Well, anyway, I want to thank Troy Cable. I want to thank Julie Fleming and Adam Staver, and of course Dustin Gilley and all the staff at Troy Cable, the Freeman family, for allowing us to do this show. Thank you guys for being here, the members of the 1659th Movement Control Team, and especially Kay and Sandy and Russ for being here. Next week's show will feature Randy Bryant. He's the head coach and athletic director at Zion Chapel High School. We'll also have Kathleen Green of the Child Advocacy Center here in Troy, and Nelsie Leverett, who's a local videographer, and her sister Sadie, who's a photographer, and their brother Howell will be
on the show. He makes homemade lures, fishing lures. So on behalf of these guys, thank you for joining Good News and Interviews with Forrest Lee. And y'all have a great week, and we'll see you again soon.
Take the worry out of Wi-Fi with managed Wi-Fi from Troy Cable. Say goodbye to dead zones. Automatically update outdated technology. Get the most of your signal with